SKW, we're basically an engineering house and machine build house. Our design focuses on ergonomics. We try to make machines or implements for machines to make an operator's job easier. So basically, if you look, we have a robot back there. We're basically doing this to help the poor guy out. He has two 20-pound parts he has to pick up in both hands, put inside of a lathe, reach in and grab one, and take the other one out. Now all he's got to do is drop them on a conveyor, let the robot do all the handling on it, and take them off the other end and go. Actually, I started this business in my garage about 10 years ago. It was right around the 9/11 era there, and there was a lot of businesses that were upside down at that point. And I happened to get laid off, so I figured, what the heck, at that point. Took my 401k, pulled it out, started my own business in my garage. A typical job. Oh, that's hard to say because we do a lot of custom stuff. Basically, everything we do is almost custom. A typical job for us, though, is we kind of focus on machine loading, tending, things like that, inspection and assembly equipment. Anything basically that makes an operator easier to work. Well, what this robot does is it takes this pinion shaft. There's two different types of pinion shaft this thing runs. And what it does is it helps out a poor guy that was sitting in a lathe going like this, reaching in with one hand and pulling out the other. These parts are about 25 pounds a piece, and you do that all day long, you're going to end up with back problems, carpal tunnel, and all kinds of stuff. So what he has to do now is he sits right there at the end of that, throws his parts down the conveyor, they roll down in, the robot does all the loading for him now. You got two CNC machine lathes that are going to be on each side of this thing. They're identical lathes, so it does the same op. It's going to come from an op 10, this will be op 20, and it's going to 30, 40, and there's going to be 50 ops by the time this thing's all completed. And what this thing does is it makes the efficiency better. It takes the downtime out of it because you don't have some poor guy sitting there getting wore out all day long. And basically, you can shut the lights off on this thing and let it run if you want. You still got to have somebody loading these parts, so we have that capability. Yeah. Okay, this is an IRB 6640. It's got a very capable payload and reach for this job. What we do is we build the end of arm tool on this thing that conforms to the part, so it can unload and load these parts in here. We build all the components that go onto this. It gets all plumbed and wired, and we send it all back. We use the cell controller. There's a ControlLogix controller in here. It talks device net to all the equipment. What we do is the operator's outside the cage, so everything's fully protected. You got safety gates, because this thing, once you tell it what to do, it's going to go. It doesn't matter if you're there or not. Okay, so safety is job one on these jobs here. So that's what right here where I'm at. This is just a little simulation of the lathe chuck. The robot will actually put it in here, and we give it a little simulation thing to go through so this thing can do its run here. Dry run is what we call it. When we put it up on the operator's floor, we actually have to go and touch up all the points and let this thing load and unload into the lathes. This is basically where our office here. Do all the design work in here, counting in here. I mean, it's just basically another office here. We use SolidWorks for our mechanical design, AutoCAD for our controls design, several different types of Microsoft programs that we use, storage facility and things like that. We get a pretty good bolt bin. We got a tool room equipment. We got mills, CNC mills, grinders, lathes, drill presses, all that good stuff, basic tool room stuff here. Got the guy next door here. He does a lot of specialty stuff for us. We got other businesses in here that do a lot of equipment for us too. We got machine right here on the floor. We're just doing this. This is actually a rebuild in progress. It's an old Orbit Form machine. They're a company out of Jackson. Actually, I used to work for them guys. Good bunch of guys there. That's for a place over in Homer there. They got a new product that they're coming up with, so they got this machine that they're going to rebuild and use it for that. And we've got a low pressure tester system that they have to test the product with before they send it out the door. So we're building that from scratch for them. That's kind of a standard product for us that we've been building before. And all we do is basically make a new fixture for it. Now basically this machine was in a warehouse that the customer had there, and then used to be an old product for them, and it basically has everything they need to utilize for this new product. So there's no sense building new when you got something that works just fine. So when we got it, it was in pretty rough shape, but we stripped it all down, cleaned it all up, put new paint on it. We're putting new controls into it. We got to put new tooling into it, new fixtures. And other than that, this is going to be a good machine for them. It's a good, robust machine. So a lot of good sense in reusing what you have a lot of times. And then this machine here, this is a yoke for a drive axle on the rear end. And this has to be pressure tested at 45 PSI. Verify there's no leaks that can come out of it in the car itself. So when this gets all done there, it does a low pressure test on it, verifies everything, then we stamp a P on it for pass, and once they get that done, they can take it and they can stack it and ship it out the door. This right here is a new enclosure for a machine that's over in Germany right now. It's for a company out of Ohio. It's through Inglewood Electronics there in Jackson. We're building a new panel for them. They have a machine over in Europe that has basically old controls on it that aren't acceptable to their standards anymore. So they have to basically revamp the whole thing, and we're building a control panel for them. If we look on it, it's got the new processor, Control Logic processor, PowerFlex drives. This is all Allen Bradley stuff. This has 3 200 horse drives on it over here. 1600 amp disconnect, so it's a real large unit. We have a remote I/O enclosure that has over 800 I/O in it. So when they get all done, this machine basically, I would say it takes up probably a 10,000 square foot area. And what it does is for sheet metal, it rolls it, shears it, and forms it. So we're a very, very innovative machine builder. We come up with very unique designs. We take on a lot of jobs that other people just don't want to do because they're hard to do. With my experiences, I've been around the world a couple times now, and I've seen a lot of different things. And I can implement all that history into new designs that we do. And we come up with a lot of stuff unique stuff for people to use. The trends I'm seeing now is, in the past 10 years, the automotive industry's taking a big downturn, but I've seen a lot of that coming back greatly back to the States. Our customer base, actually, we've been in business 10 years, and we have a pretty vast customer base now. We stick to a lot of the local businesses around here, like we've done business for Advanced Turning, True Form. We've done food products, we've done stuff for Martinrea, used to be SKD, RSB Transmission over in Homer, used to be formerly Miller Brothers. So, and we get calls from different people every day too. So, well, obviously they get a new product line, and they have to figure out a way to develop it and operate it all the way through the system and send it out their door. So we will build parts of or a whole cell for them to make the product for them. So if it requires machining, Ellison Technologies is a company we do a lot of business with. They sell Morisuki. TMS Tool and TMS over in Litchfield do the same thing. We have robots that we use. Customers usually have what they want to use, so we try to stick to their specifics. But what we do is we'll design it right from the ground up, and then we build it, and then we run it. And then if the customer's satisfied, they get it on their floor and they start making product. We have a 20-ton crane here, which really, really helps out when you got a 6-door enclosure like this, because you're about 4,000 pounds right there. We use that basically for the robots, machines. We've had a lot of CNC machines in here that we've had to take in and out. It comes in handy for that. We've got a paint booth back there that we do all our painting back in there. A little bit of storage here and there and everywhere on this. Got our tool room here with mills, lathes, drills, and all that, and grinders, inspection equipment. We've got 2 CNC mills that we use. We got a regular lathe there, drill press there, grinder there, mills there. We got saws. We have a fab department. We got wire welders, benders, and things like that, so we can do a little bit of sheet metal work. A lot of the sheet metal work we send out because that's not our specialty, so we let the guys that know how to do it stick with that. What we do is I design a product up, okay, and each detail has to be machined, so we have to take it and put it on our mill, and we have to make each part for the assembly. And once we get all our parts put together, we send them out, get them black oxide or coated or whatever, bring them back, and we start putting a machine together. And then we build it from the ground up. And we've got journeyman tool makers that we have. We've been in the business for 30, 40 years, so we got some older guys that they know their stuff. So, yeah, basically what we do is when we build our machines from the ground up, we start with the customer's product. They bring us a product or a drawing, and we have to build a machine around the product. And you start with a fixture, and then you start with a base, and then you start with a machine frame, and then you just keep going from there, add your controls to it. And once you get all done with that, you get the machine running and you make sure this thing works. The biggest thing right now is we still are basically a small business. We're a family-owned and operated business. We're very family-oriented. Basically, everybody in this building is either related, worked together, or went to school together. So, I mean, there's history here. So that's one thing that really sets us apart. We always offer a 1-year warranty at least. And then, of course, any purchase components carry their own warranties and things like that. And we don't have a problem. If we got a machine out in the field and somebody has a change that they need that wasn't foreseen, we go out and do it. I mean, there's no questions asked. We take care of our customers. You got to go to school constantly. You have to learn new things all the time in this business, because if you don't, you're going to fall behind quick. And I mean, obviously, like with the processor in this old machine we're rebuilding here, okay, it's at the time that thing was put in there, that was high tech. Nowadays, that's the old box thing you don't want to use anymore. And like in the robot there, it's got the new, high-powered processors in it and all that kind of good stuff. So, all right, so we've got this thing set up, a little operator panel here. It's called HMI, Human Machine Interface. I got it set up, so all you do is pick your part. This thing runs 2 different parts, so we're going to run a 60955 part on this one here. And then I'm going to do a lathe startup. And we have to make sure our robot's ready to go, so we flip the key switch. We have to acknowledge that. Little startup functions here. I'm only done 1 time a day. We'll put it in auto mode, and we're ready to rock and roll. We've got parts in our conveyor. It's a blue steel gravity conveyor. And then I'm going to go to the simulation screen that I made so we can do our run here. I'm going to tell it to 10 lathe A, which is that lathe over there. I'm going to do a cycle start. Part pops up, orients it. The robot will come in. We're going to go and check for a part and make sure there's nothing there, just for clearance problems. And then we put the part down into the chuck. And then I have to go through here, and now we're going to clamp the chuck. And he'll come back out. Grabs another part, and he's going to sit here and wait. Now, one of the lathes is going to be ready to tend at this point, so it's going to be lathe B. So he's going to go over and he's going to tend this lathe over here. Now I got to tell it, okay, chuck is closed. Comes over and gets another part. He's going to wait and get ready to go again. Now at this point here, we have to simulate the 2 lathes that are actually going to be machining this part. So they'll be going back and forth all day long on this. So what I have to do is simulate, okay, that my part is done now. I'm going to open up that chuck, and he's going to put a finished part in there. And then I have to close my chuck back up, and I'm going to tell it to go ahead and tend that lathe. And while he's doing that, I'll get that chuck out of there. At this point, he takes it to the unload chute. There you have a finished product through the line now. Okay, we're going to do the next lathe. At this point here, the lathe can start machining the part. Let's go ahead and change these parts out again. Now if you notice the two guys loading these parts here, if you had to do that all day long, you'd get a little wore out, wouldn't you? All right, so we're just going to go back to the next lathe. What happens is the CNC gives what's called M codes. They're basically just inputs and outputs. They're signals to tell me where it's at, and then I can tell it what I need to do too. So it's called an interface. When this thing is done up there on their floor, it'll be fully automatic. The only thing that a human's going to have to do is load these parts and take them off. And hopefully they'll use a fork truck or something for that. We like to call it labor aiding innovations. So I don't know if you've ever had to do it before, but I've had to work on a production line before back when I was going to college, and it wasn't very much fun. So whatever can make a guy's job easier is what we try to do. Like our uniqueness is we do more controls than anybody else. That's, you know, my forte is controls, so that's what we use is our specialty around here. Of course, I've, you know, many years of mechanical design and things like that too, that comes to play in here too. I think what we offer is we provide a very good competitive quality product at a very cost-effective price. And then, like I say, is we can do a lot of unique things that other people don't. This is part of the machine or panel build job that we have down here. This is an operator station that we built. Of course, we purchased the enclosure, and then we added all the buttons to it, wired it. Once this thing's completely done on all these, we test everything out. You got to make sure all your wires go to the right spots. You know, you want to make sure this input turns on the correct one, so when you get in the field and you have to wire it, you don't want to have to go through all that debugging stuff there. This is the main enclosure. There's actually 3 panels inside this, which you've seen over there. Those are braking resistors on top for the 200 horse drives. A couple more braking resistors over there. This will have cooling fans on one end. It'll be pushing air in and then pushing air out the other end. It'll be like a wind tunnel to keep all the components cool. So when those 200 horse drives kick on, there's a lot of heat made. So we've got to keep that down. And this will be all CE approved when it's completed, which European standards use a CE. And that's right there is the remote enclosure too. That's one that has a whole bunch of I/O in that one. So there's a ton of wiring in that one. We've gone to a lot of customers and updated their equipment for them. I mean, a lot of stuff, a good iron has been around for 40, 50 years. So why not reuse the iron and just put new controls on it? I mean, if you got a product that you need to do something new with it, and it's not quite up to date or it doesn't quite have what you need, there's no sense just adding a few things, to it and make it work for you. So we've done that quite a bit for people. In fact, a lot of our jobs have come from inspection equipment that a customer has a job that they did, and if they have some older equipment and stuff doesn't have any inspection equipment on it, they have to do what's called sorting their product. Once they get to a customer and they find a bad product, they pay a lot of money to go sort all these components. So we actually go into their place, we check how we can inspect in process for them to not affect their prediction of the parts there, but we still keep a good inspected part coming out the door for them so they don't have to worry about doing that. Yeah, you guys can get a hold of us, anybody, a customer. We have a website, www.skwautomation.com. It's got a few of our capabilities on there. It's actually being updated at this point right now. Call us on the phone. It's area code 517-563-8288. Email me or sales@skwautomation.com. We're more than happy to come out and help you out with anything that you need help with.